So, good morning.
Good morning.
I want to thank you for the invitation to come speak. Yesterday was a very busy day, and I really enjoyed it. And I enjoyed meeting so many different patients and getting to be a part of their care. It's very inspiring how much work and dedication you guys are putting in to treating Marfan syndrome. And I feel very honored to be able to be a part of this. So today we're going to be talking about managing pain, and mostly I'm going to be talking about managing pain in terms of the chronic conditions that people face with connective tissue disorders. So I have no financial disclosures to report, and again, I'm going to quickly define pain, and then we're going to discuss the role of comorbid conditions that can exacerbate pain, and then finally discuss various treatment modalities for pain. So pain is made up of two parts. It's both a sensory experience, and it's also the emotional response to that sensory input. And for those of you that are unfamiliar with Frida Kahlo, she's a Mexican artist that suffered from both polio disease and then had a motor vehicle accident, and has drawn a significant number of artwork that represents her experience with pain. As academics, we tend to objectify pain in order to understand it better and to make advances in research. So we're always interested in the neuroanatomy of pain, in particular, what aspects of the brain are affected, so that when that expression, the pain is just in your head, well, it is in your head, because we know that our bodies send signals from the areas where our pain is occurring to our brain. We're also always trying to understand what a normal response to pain is, and then when someone has some type of injury or a chronic pain experience, how does that affect pain? So we use terms like hyperalgesia, hyper being great, and algesia meaning pain. And so people with chronic pain conditions tend to have kind of extreme responses to a painful stimuli. And then we also use a term called allodynia, which means other pain. And that means that sometimes things that normally don't bother us, some type of normal stimulus, for people with chronic pain conditions, those experiences can be extremely painful. And I like to use the analogy of a feather. So normally, if someone kind of touched a feather lightly against your skin, that might actually be a pleasant and normal experience. However, with people with chronic pain conditions, they might describe that as like feeling like fires on their body. And they get connected to pain tissue disorders, where a lot of times it's mechanical pain. Maybe that's not the best analogy to use. Maybe like a ton of bricks would be another analogy, but hopefully you understand that point. So we're starting to do a lot more research on pain in Marfan syndrome. And Dr. Nelson in Chicago and my group at Johns Hopkins have both been able to characterize pain in Marfan syndrome. And we know that pain is ubiquitous. And most patients talk about chronic back pain, but pain happens everywhere. So we know patients are more susceptible to headaches, jaw pain, shoulder pain, chest and abdominal pain, and then joint hypermobility pain related to our knees, our hips, and our feet, and then peripheral pain that can happen in our arms and our legs. And reports suggest that pain occurs in anywhere from 40 to up to 90% of patients with pain. So this is a very common experience. And unfortunately, pain is often underdiagnosed. So over 40% of patients have reported that they don't receive a formal pain diagnosis. And that's something we want to work on, is to understand pain more and be able to diagnose it, because chronic pain has many consequences and many reasons why it affects our quality of life. So, in speaking with a lot of pain patients, fatigue is always a common factor of something that they associate with pain. In addition to sometimes feeling hopeless or demoralized because of their pain, losing interest in things, and then that constellation of symptoms can develop into even more problems, ranging from disability to sleep problems, to engaging in risky behaviors to try to manage the pain, and sometimes even leading to drug dependence, like using opioids or benzodiazepines. And again, the research that we've been looking at shows that pain in Marfan syndrome is actually very disabling. So you can see the these graphs here. So the light blue bar to the far right is looking at all of the Marfan patients in this study, which was 245 patients. And then each of the color bars are broken up into people who report pain versus those who don't report pain. About a quarter of patients say that pain is one of the initial symptoms of marked onset that they experience. And those are the light green bars. And then the other blue bars are the patients that report that pain tends to spread from its initial location to other areas. And you can see, I'm going to start at the bottom. So looking at both physical health and mental health. So the black lines are what the average kind of scale is. So if we look at a normal population of healthy adults, and this one is based out of Utah, then that 50 is where they would rate their physical and their mental health. So that's normal. So you can see that across the board, patients with Marfan syndrome report worse physical health and worse mental health compared to healthy adults in a Utah population. And in particular, if we focus on the orange bars, those patients who don't report pain, which is only about 11% of people in this study, were the only ones that even came close to reporting normal physical health. And everyone else, again, reporting lower health. And then in addition, we looked at pain disability and pain catastrophizing. And what we can see is for those individuals that had pain at the onset of their disease, and for those whose pain tends to spread as the disease progresses, they have more pain catastrophizing, which is a term for worrying about pain, and more pain disability. So in addition to the kind of personal consequences of pain, we also know that it's important to address pain because it tends to affect every aspect of our lives, from our relationships to our work, to financial difficulties, to just our general energy and our ability to engage in social activities. So when we talk about pain and talk about managing pain, the overall goal is to try to figure out how do we get patients to function, because that's the goal. And how do we get people to enjoy life and kind of live and accomplish their goals in spite of their pain. So where do we begin? So the goal is to think about the person with Marfan syndrome or another connective tissue disorder, and to think about them as a whole, and to think about them as an individual that has a genetic burden, as well as many other factors. And when we can take all of those factors into consideration, then we can kind of manage the pain and treat all of the problems that are associated with it. So I like to think about it in terms of there's multiple stressors that can affect pain. So sometimes it's whether it's bereavement, grief, loss of a loved one, loss of a job, all of those things are stressful life events that can exacerbate our pain. There's also diseases that are oftentimes frequently associated with pain, and I'm going to talk about those in a little bit. But in particular, major depression, bipolar disorder, and anxiety disorder are frequently comorbid with pain, and we know that they have a bi-directional relationship. So when your pain goes up, more likely that your anxiety and your depression are going to go up. And if we can treat one, we can treat the other one more effectively. We also like to engage in different behaviors. So we all do certain things. And sometimes we turn towards substances to help alleviate pain, whether that be like alcohol or an opioid or pain modification. We also do things like sleep. Sleep is something that's essential for our health, and we need to do that every day. But it can oftentimes get disrupted when we have pain disorders. And finally, we all have different personality strengths and weaknesses. And sometimes those strengths and weaknesses can be good, and sometimes they can get the better of us. And they can all change the way that we experience pain. So I always like to focus on major depression, mostly because I'm a psychiatrist, so this is what I'm trained in. But again, because it's frequently comorbid with pain disorders. So we know that pain and depression are comorbid in 30 to 60% of cases. This is kind of across the board in chronic pain conditions. And when people suffer from major depression, that means that the depression is uncoupling the reward system. So they lose that ability to enjoy life and get fulfillment from things. Depression also increases our ability to kind of avoid things. So it helps train our brain to find ways to avoid doing activities or engaging in things that we normally find pleasurable. It increases our vulnerabilities to take excessive medications. And in general, we know that it just increases our subjective experience of pain. And oftentimes, all of us at some point have had a moment where we feel sad or depressed. And I like to call that fragility, because that's just kind of a term that we use in general in society, is I feel depressed. But major depression is a disease. And it's important to remember that it's not a sign of weakness, and it's not your fault. So when we think about major depression and we think about a disease, it's a neurochemical change in our body. It can be related to depression, or you can feel depressed. You might also feel irritable, and you may also feel nothing. But when you're depressed and it's a true neurological disorder, oftentimes there's also a decreased interest in things that happen simultaneously. So maybe we lose interest in going to work or school or interaction with their family. Then oftentimes patients also describe feelings of guilt or worthlessness. They doubt themselves. They don't think that they deserve their family or their friends. And in addition to that, there's also changes in sleep and appetite and energy and fatigue. And when all of those constellation of symptoms occur, that can frequently be a sign of major depression, and that's something that should be evaluated by a primary care doctor or a psychiatrist. I also want to touch base about substances, because again, we know that it's very, very common in chronic pain disorders. So it ranges anywhere from people with chronic pain often abuse or misuse substances in about 30 to 80% of cases. So again, this is highly comorbid. And we know that substances can further or increase our liability of using other substances. And using substances kind of prevents us from feeling well. So, the occasional glass of alcohol, sometimes using opioids in the acute pain situation, those are things that can be normal and can be helpful. But we do know that patients who already have substance use disorders, whether it be alcohol or opioid, they are more predisposed to develop pain disorders, and it's harder to treat their pain. And finally, the other disorder I want to talk about is insomnia disorder. Again, unsurprisingly, this is also very common in chronic pain conditions. So one of my colleagues did a review recently where he showed that pain and insomnia are, again, comorbid in 50 to 80% of cases. And I like to show this model of behavioral model of insomnia, because I think it's an important model, not just for insomnia, but just for life in general. So all of us have our pre-morbid personality and things that are risk factors for when things go bad, that it amplifies that pain or sleep. Right? And then some type of life event happens. So that's the green bar. And that green bar might be stress over a job or an exam at school, something that's ongoing. And then suddenly we stop sleeping for days at a time. And so then we're over our threshold for sleep. Right? And then suddenly we're tired the next day, we have no energy, and we're trying to figure out ways to improve our sleep. So we start taking naps during the day, we start taking some medicines at night to help fall asleep, we stop going to the gym because we don't have the energy to go to the gym. And the next thing you know, although we've had good intentions to catch up and recuperate on our sleep, we end up creating these maladaptive behaviors that end up continually destroying our good sleep habits and our good sleep hygiene. And this is, we all do this naturally. And then what happens is, next thing you know, that initial precipitating factor that causes sleep problems becomes a whole new cycle of problems on its own. And that represents the red bar. And again, I think this graph is really helpful because I think this is true not just for sleep, but also in things like in terms of exercise and eating habits and all the things that we do and things like avoiding pain as well. So the talk is about managing pain. So how do we actually do that, given all that? First is because in order to treat pain, again, we need to know who the individual is and what kind of disorders that they're suffering from and what other life events are going on that are exacerbating their pain. So when we think about pain, medications can play a major role. There's also treatment strategies, including psychotherapy, interventions, spinal stimulators, physical therapy, group therapy, family therapy, and exercise. And this is a paper that was just recently accepted and should be published soon. And we've actually characterized, based on a survey report, the use of past and current treatment strategies in the Marfan population. And as you can see, over-the-counter medications are the most frequently reported medications. That's going to be your Tylenol and your NSAIDs. And that's followed by opioids, and then other medications. And then psychological therapies and things like occupational therapy are significantly underutilized in this population. So I think the important thing to think about is how to maximize strategies and how to tackle pain from multiple perspectives and multiple locations. So again, pain is something that you might experience in one location of your body, but we know that because our body is connected, our brain and our body are connected, that means that signals are transmitted to our brain and then back to our body. And so pain actually is affected in multiple locations and multiple receptors. So the goal is to kind of figure out which receptors to hit so that we can use multiple medications in something called multimodal therapy. And so sometimes we want to be using a combination of Tylenol and NSAIDs like ibuprofen or Motrin or Advil because those are going to help reduce the inflammation and reduce the pain signaling. But then we also know that a combination of using other medications like nerve medications, for instance, gabapentin and Lyrica, or other anti-seizure medications, those can also kind of stop your nerves from firing and sending abnormal pain signals. And then finally, we know that there's antidepressants that happen to treat the pain pathways as well. And that's again because the pain and the depression pathways in our brain and our body are very similar and overlap. They use the same neurochemicals. So even if you don't have a history of depression or current depression, sometimes using antidepressants like SNRIs, which are serotonin, norepinephrine, reuptake inhibitors, or tricyclics, which are TCAs, can be helpful for pain. And finally, opioids can have a place for acute pain. And for certain people, if you're functioning and able to do the things you want to do, sometimes opioids can play a role. I'm not going to focus on the opioids right now, but currently we are in an opioid epidemic, and there's a current national trend to kind of take everyone off their opioids. And I think this is something we have to think about on an individual basis. In addition to medications, we also really have to use a combination of pain education, teaching patients that you might have pain, but you can still function with your pain, and then using other non-medication or non-pharmacological therapies. So in terms of therapies, there's behavioral approaches, and then there's also kind of relaxation approaches. And again, we oftentimes think about different psychotherapies as related to a specific disease. I think it's also really important to think about what type of psychotherapy would a patient be willing to engage in is going to be helpful for that time period. Now, my colleagues at Hopkins are behavioralists, if you will, and so therefore, by training, I really advocate for cognitive behavioral therapy. And that is the idea that we all have thoughts, we all have feelings, and we all have emotions, and we all have behaviors. And all three of those interact and play a role with each other. So when we do something, when we feel a certain way, it also affects our thoughts. And so most of us feel a certain way. And so maybe we say, oh, I don't feel like going to the gym today, so I'm not going to do it. And then that continues to perpetuate that feeling, right? I'm too tired, I'm fatigued, I'm not going to go to work, I'm not going to do this. But so one of the, I won't say easier ways, but one of the maybe more effective ways is to not focus on your feelings, but to focus on those behaviors. And so just go do something every single day, even if it's something small, and even if it's something really challenging. And the more you do something, the more that ultimately will change your thoughts and your feelings about it, and the more likely you are to do that. So again, after a while, it can help change your thoughts and your feelings. And while I don't advocate for many apps, because I'm not familiar with a lot of them, I will say that for cognitive behavioral therapy for insomnia, that's a special technique that can focus on your behaviors and thoughts around sleep. And our lab does a lot of research on this. And the veterans, the VA, has created an app called CBTI Coach, which is free, and it's used, supposedly used for adjunctive therapy, so if you're working with a therapist, you can also use this to track your sleep patterns. But I do suggest it because I know that a lot of times if you're not in an academic center or urban setting, it's hard to find sleep specialists who understand how to treat sleep. And finally, there's a lot of different relaxation training. So there's, whether it's diaphragmatic breathing, progressive muscle relaxation, or guided imagery, there's a lot of ways that when a certain life event or something very stressful is exacerbating your pain, that we can use different techniques to calm down. And yoga and mindfulness meditation, there's a lot of research going on right now. The exciting news is that we're learning it's not only just something that is reducing our pain because it makes us feel better, but we're also showing in different biobehavioral studies that these types of treatments that are actually reducing inflammation and changing our biobehavioral mechanisms. And one key thing is to remember that you want to practice these techniques when you're feeling better. My tennis coach always used to say that it's not practice that makes perfect, it's perfect practice that makes perfect. And so I like to remind people that really, really stressed and having a really, really bad day, that's not the day to start yoga or to start progressive muscle relaxation. It's not going to work. So you want to work on these therapies on times when you're feeling a little bit better, and you work with someone who can help you out with those things. And finally, self-efficacy is really important. It's important to believe in ourselves and to believe that we're capable of getting better and we're capable of accomplishing our goals. And then it's also important for us as clinicians to advocate for our patients and to remind them that they are capable of functioning as well. So I just want to leave you with some final thoughts. Pain is a unique experience for everyone, and it's a culmination of kind of the other diseases that we're suffering from, behaviors that we engage in, our personality, strengths, and then other life events that are affecting us on a daily basis. And all individuals deserve hope, structure, and advocacy from themselves and also from their clinicians to accept serendipity wherever you can. Take your good days and enjoy them. And so remember that oftentimes we can't make the pain go away completely, but we can find ways to function and to live in spite of our pain. Thank you.